That's one in the sky is a light. The world keeps turning, enjoy the ride. Come off that mountain, the plan is working. Spread your wings and learn to fly. Little dragon, make it happen. Stir the fire in your heart. Little dragon, dreams can happen. Love the one you truly are. Little dragon, make it happen. Stir the fire in your heart. Little dragon, dreams can happen. Love the one you truly are. Love the one you truly are.
Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What do you need to know? Have a drink, have your say. All opinions here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Michael, Matt, and Chris are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
The hell? What the hell? What the hell is happening at King's Lynn? And Brummy fans are moaning again. Only in Speedway. Good evening and welcome to the Speedway Tavern. In the Speedway Tavern tonight we have our friend Webby.
Good evening.
The Invisible again.
I am, yeah.
Brought the camera.
It's a great camera.
I did bring the camera actually.
Oh, well done.
And
What's with the gold microphone, by the way?
I know, yeah, it is, isn't it? Well, golden child, I know.
yeah, and moving on. And Matt Buck. Hello,
Good
Matt.
evening.
So can I just start off the show with a confession?
Oh, go on then.
So normally, as you know, I plan this to perfection this show.
Yeah.
Shall I get my coat? Unfortunately tonight, due to stuff,
Yeah.
that stuff being running out of diesel,
Oh.
I didn't get here till late. So we're winging it a little bit tonight. So tonight it's more important than ever that you guys take part in the show. And Webby's now going to tell you how to do that.
Okay, you can come onto our Facebook page, which is the Speedway. I'm trying to think of the URL. It's Brummy's Fans.
There you
So if
go.
you search for Brummy's Fans, we'll also be on Speedway Friends shortly, amongst other things, and hopefully Cradley's page, which we'll talk about
We've
later.
got some news about Cradley.
If you're not on Facebook, then or you are on Facebook and you're listening now and you don't want to be on Facebook, you can go to www.srbradio.com and we're on there as well.
Yeah, and there's a shout box on there for you
There is,
to
yeah.
put your comments in and ask any questions and try and trick us, because we know nothing really. We just pretend we know
I
what
think-
we're talking about. So where to start?
Whew, it's a start.
Brummy fans moaning again. I really don't know where to start with this. I can't. So we had a match against Bellevue, and so what they moaned about, could sort of understand where they're coming, but it's Speedway, isn't it? So Dan Bewley and Jack Smith, he came in there, weren't going to take part because they were riding for their other club,
Bellevue at Poole.
So there would be guests and so on. So that, and they were moaning about that, saying, "Oh, we really wanted to see who is currently the best rider in the league, probably, and wanted to see Jack because he'd rode for us last year, etc., etc." Well, the match at Bellevue was rained off early. So
The day before, wasn't it?
the day before. So Graham Drury, if you can believe, which no reason not to believe, got in touch with Bellevue and said, "Look, we know you book guests, and that's the letter of the law should be those guests honour the thing, but we'd like you, if you put Dan Bewley back and Jack Smith back in, we won't complain about it," sort of thing. So we'd love you to do that. So they did, which sort of put paid to the rumours that we'd arranged it that way so we had an easier match, which was the other thing that people were moaning about. And what did people moan about then? They moaned about them being included because it would change the programme and they'd have to write in the names. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up.
You've got to do.
My imagination's not that good.
That's right.
So, come on, guys, get a life. Okay, calm down. Calm
Got
down.
that off your
Calm
chest.
down. So, shall we start off with what the hell's happening at Kings Lynn?
I don't think even Kingsley know what's happening there, to be honest. It's a mess, isn't it?
Mess is a good way of describing it. So, just to sort of bring people up to date, this is all the aftermath of that. What happened? The Poole versus Bellevue, with a couple of riders not wanting to ride, which we know that Chris Holder was one,
And Troy Batchelor was the other one.
Troy Batchelor. Well, he says he was injured, that's why he didn't want to ride, but then he rode again the next day. So you make up your own mind about that. So that happened, and then Chris Holder was banned for 28 days.
28 days, yeah.
Which I think I remember you saying you thought was a bit steep. And then all of a sudden, they've been sacked by Kings Lynn.
After the cut-off.
After the cut, well, that was the other thing. I mean, that Chris Holder's after the cut-off, so they couldn't be signed by any other team. Replaced by Thomas H. Jonathan, not really a number one. Would you say?
Ridden in the Grand Prix, but not just been sort of
No.
steady in the Grand Prix, but not really made a big impact.
Josh Orty
Yeah.
and somebody whose name escapes me. Very definitely.
Michael Palmtoft.
Michael Palmtoft. Very definitely, I would say, weakens them. Although he's tried to put the spin on it. Well, we haven't got a number one, but we've now got strength in depth. Swindon came to town and beat them by 10 points.
Yep.
Which is a big loss at home. What's going on?
Well, the worrying thing for me is that this is a club that's run by the bloke who's appointed chairman of the BSBA.
Yep.
He does come across as being a little bit sort of...
Spiteful?
Yeah. I don't think Holder and Batchelor did themselves any favours. I think they both went about it the wrong way. Chris Holder for basically messing about and just not taking it seriously enough on the night, and then Troy Batchelor for saying he was injured and then making a miraculous recovery 24 hours later to guess for Swindon. So they haven't handled it.
They haven't covered themselves
No,
in glory.
nobody comes out of this in any glory, and I think once again Speedway grabs the big gun and blasts its own foot off. I suppose it's got any feet left, to be honest. It's
I think we should have a new spot on the show, and we will call it Speedway Blows Its Foot Off Again.
Yeah.
And we want a sound effect for that, please. And and so every week we will list the ways that Speedway's blown itself.
Making the show to
That'll
4
do.
hours in a wheel.
Yeah. So for Speedway blowing their foot off again, Kings Lynn and Chris Holder and Troy Batchelor. Let's do it. Fantastic. He's quick, He's really
I think
quick.
that was planned.
I've earned all the money that I ain't going to get tonight.
Yeah, so we're going to do that every week now, and also
What are we going to do?
that's the one.
That's it.
Also, if you guys have got any suggestions for how Speedway has shot itself in the foot, it's got to be this week. It's got to be current. Then shove your ideas up on the shout box, etc., etc. And if we think they're worth it, we will give them the.
Oh, hang on.
There you go.
Okay.
Do it again. I like that.
Oh, it's great. Can I just say we are on the Cradley page now as well. So if you want to join in, folks, join in.
Absolutely, want Cradley. Talking of Cradley, we have
Yes.
some brilliant news. Do you want to announce it? Do you
Well,
know more
we've
about it?
got two guests coming in.
We've got 2 desks coming in.
yeah, we could do with a good new desk. Yeah, we've got a couple of guests coming
Wasn't as
in
big news as I thought.
next Thursday. From Cradley.
From Cradley, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
Our
guys
friends.
that have just announced the new possible home for Cradley, isn't it? It's the guys that have designed
They're from
all that.
the Heathens Speedway Supporters Trust.
Right.
So
So they'll come in and talk about that and talk about all things Cradley. And I'll try and keep Matt off them. And
and they've promised me it's going to be very interesting.
that's what we like. We're all
Good.
about very
It's
interested.
not so funny.
Don't do that again ever.
Okay.
Okay. Just
Never.
don't ever do that again.
Okay.
So we're looking forward now to everybody's giving us their ideas, because, as I say, there is nothing planned for tonight. Let's talk about what's been happening at Wolves before we go any further.
Well, back to winning ways after the win on Monday against a pretty poor Somerset team. I mean, this is a Somerset team that won at Poole the previous Wednesday. I don't
That
know.
makes no
I
sense.
don't know how they managed to. I don't know how they managed to win that because
Was it the same team, or did they have
it
guests?
was the
in
same
the-
team. Same team, yeah. So it was fairly straightforward. Not really you can say about that. In fairness, it wasn't the best of meetings, but I think that was probably more because really Somerset weren't that competitive. And I think but in fairness, it was a much needed result for Wolves because of the sort of a rocky little spell that we've had in the last few
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
So obviously, Samuel Malenko in charge for the first time. Obviously, had 2 meetings round off last week.
Right.
So, Peter Adams, you can stay on holiday if you want. 100% record for Sam as a team manager.
Talk about fickle. Hello. What have we
Matt
got?
wants to know, have we got our coats? Because we're outside the pub. He wants to make sure we're not getting too cold.
Okay.
Who's going to break it to him?
Let's just let him live in that fantasy world, I think.
Is it so?
I'm flabbergasted. My gast has never been so flabbered. Thanks, Mr. Frankie Howard, for that one. So carry on. Wolves.
Back to winning ways. Obviously, the meeting last Friday against Somerset was round off. That's been rearranged for next Wednesday. Hopefully, I'll be going to that one,
Okay.
weather permitting, of course. So yeah, it's been a pretty quiet week. In fairness, at Monmore Green, just that one result on Monday.
Well, that's the end of that then, isn't
That's
it?
That was a quick show,
Bit of a wet blanket, but everyone.
Actually, while we're talking about away matches and so on, we've got plans ahead that may or may not come into fruition. We're going to be sorting out, but we're hoping to be able to transmit live on Facebook some of the away matches, audio only.
Yeah.
So hopefully there'll be some commentaries coming your way very soon. We're working on the technology as we
Once I've
speak.
shown you how to do it.
Once you've shown me how to
Yeah.
do it, that's what I'm saying. We're working on the technology. Sounds so much better. Yeah, working on my brain is what that means. So,
Can I also quickly also say, if you want to phone in tonight, feel free.
oh yes, put the number up.
Feel free. I'll put the number up, and if you want to just send me a text, and then we'll phone you back, and
Yeah.
we'll pay for the call.
Well,
I'll
you
say
will.
fairer than that. So.
You will.
Well, my company will.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to have your comments on anything Speedway at all that's going on in the world. Talking about anything that's going on in the world, Swindon versus Leicester are currently doing battle, unless it's been rained off.
Somerset Swindon going for I think 9 in a row, isn't it now? So
It is, yeah. I mean, you got to think they're their favourites for the
I'd tell you
top
now,
at
if
the
the
moment.
players were now, I'd fancy them to win them.
Can you put that
To be
up for
honest.
us, Robbie?
What, sorry?
The update.
Yes, I believe I've got
Thank you.
one.
That's, there we go. Yep,
I say, if the
Swindon
players
versus
for
Leicester.
now, I'd fancy Swindon to win them, actually, the form they're in.
Well, the form they're in, you can't see them losing that form.
No.
It's only some
Having said
injuries.
that, look at the score.
Good God. Good God.
Yes.
Swindon Robins 12, Leicester 12. But how many guests have... Dear me.
One.
There's three guests riding... Three guests and rider replacement riding for Leicester. I bet they'll do that more in the future if that's the sort of
You can
results
almost
they're
have
going
a
to get.
guest league.
And there's two guests riding for Swindon. Wow.
That's madness.
That well, only in Speedway. I mean, it's. Let's talk a little bit about that. Well, since that's brought that up, it's getting beyond a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the guest rule, to be honest.
It's not so much the guest rule that's the problem for me. It's the things that you can use it for, and all this doubling up in all the leagues is causing so many guests having to be used when a rider isn't injured. He's just riding for his own club.
Well, doubling up's made worse by the fact that it's not one night a week like other leagues in Europe are, so inevitably at some stage of the season it's going to be a case where your riders' two clubs are going to be racing at the same time, and they can't no one's mastered the art of being in two places at once yet, so...
No.
I think, unfortunately, that with doubling up, I mean, I remember when it was brought in, and it was initially only brought in for English riders, young English riders under the age of 21
then
to
they
ride
realised that
reserve
was against
for
the law.
for 2 years. I think what changed it I'm sure someone will put me right if I'm wrong, but I think 2003, I think Bellevue used Carl Stonia as a doubling up rider. Now, Carl Stonia had been in the Grand Prix the previous season, and from that point on, it just sort of got stronger, it's got sort of snowballed, and now it's sort of completely out of control, and I don't know how they're going to get it back into control, really. I mean, we keep hearing promoters talking about how they want, we use too many riders doubling up, but it seems every year they introduce rules that means it's going to...
Well, they're the ones that do it. We don't do it. They do it. They're the ones that put the rules in place.
Well, it isn't, so...
Matt says, what do you propose teams do then when they can't sign new riders? Going back to the guests, I should imagine.
Well, it's not about signing riders. So in a lot of the case.
I think what he means is when it's after the cut-off for changes.
Yeah, well, that's a different issue, isn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, and is the cut-off a good thing anyway? I'm not entirely sure. I sort of understand why it was introduced, but...
And Alan has come back with something that I spoke about a long time ago, years ago, squad systems.
Well, that's the problem with that is there isn't enough riders to go around. There isn't enough riders to make. Maybe in not the elite league, in the Premiership, there might be, because you can go abroad, but it's certainly not a thing that you could really work well in the National League.
Yeah.
It's which is of course the problem with the doubling up system, because if people are doubling up, it takes away spaces at the beginning of the season for more riders.
I think that's why it's imperative, really, that we do more to develop English riders, which we are doing now.
It is happening now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is happening. Long last, it's happening now, and it's going to be important, because if we get more riders, then a squad system could be implemented. I know there's a lot of traditionalists out there who say, well, it should be 7 riders. I'd like it to be 7 riders, but the reality is it's not working anymore, because you've got too many. There's not enough riders to go around.
It's
You've got
not been.
it's
happened before, hasn't it? It has happened before with 6 riders, I believe.
Well, I remember the one season when there were 6 riders.
So it might be maybe something to happen in the national.
That was
League.
actually, I think that was the first year of the Elite League, about '97. I think that was. We had 6-man teams. I think we had it for a couple of years.
Not necessarily going to notice it as such, are you? Once they're out on the track and you've got 4 riders, 2 from each team. That's the important bit, I guess.
And when I started, most clubs used to just nominate a number 8 and then just put him in the team when someone was missing, which is a possibility, I suppose.
I think one of the big problems that now is that there is a bigger gap than there has been for a very long time between National League and the Championship.
Yeah.
Because they've strengthened and the Premiership have sort of de-strengthened. Is that even a word? It's made a bigger gap between the National League, so that's making it much more tougher for these riders like Jack Parkinson Blackburn, who's, you know, what a talent he is, struggled in the Championship. So there's got to be a way of getting them up there, and probably part. I mean, I suppose that what they've done with 2-point riders is a start in that, you know, at reserve, but things to be sorted. But getting back to the guest system and being used for the doubling up time and time again. Somebody produced a stat of how much percentage there was of guests this year up to a certain point, and it was I can't remember what the exact number was, but it was a ridiculous number, and they wonder why people are not coming to the matches anymore. That's a big part of it.
Well, this is it. People just don't want to see, you know. I want to go and see Wolves against Somerset. I don't want to see a Wolves Select against Somerset Select, which is what sometimes happens now.
Or Swindon Select versus Leicester Select today.
Alan goes on, I agree with the cut-off, but why not have a squad system? What's the point of a number 8? And he further says, have your number 8-4-7 average.
Okay, I can tell you exactly what the point of a number 8 is.
And can also
I'm not saying I agree with it.
Can also say our Lord and Master Graham Drury has just joined.
Oh, hello, Lord and Master Graham.
Good evening.
We're going to be talking about Graham in a little while. My understanding of why the number 8 is there. My understanding of why the number 8 is there is it's there purely for rider replacement. So if you have a facility for rider replacement, the number 8 can take those rider replacement rides. He can't take any other rides. Just so it's useful for him to be there in case you get another injury. And then you don't end up with 3 men in a race, sort of thing. I think that's essentially what the number 8 is for. I don't think you have to actually name a number 8 at the beginning of the season. I know we've done that before. I know we did that at the beginning. Was it the beginning of this season and then he didn't turn up? Or was it last season? I can't remember. It's last season, I think. So it's not a requirement that you name a number 8, but that's what the number 8 facility is essentially for.
Okay.
Mark Elliott says, I don't think that's a real tavern.
Oh, he's sussed us.
Hey, it's a bit of a sports board.
Yeah. Most of the clouds look the same as what's outside here today. I think
they do a bit. They do a bit.
Cloudy.
So,
wasn't there riders that didn't have a team at the beginning of the season, whilst loads of riders doubled up?
Well, that was my point, wasn't it? Exactly. I mean, when you have too many people doubling up, it limits the space. So the National League needs to be. It's supposed to be a training league. I have issues with whether it is or whether it isn't.
It was a training league. I think it's become less of one now.
Well, it was encouraged to become more professional, wasn't it? Hence the assets. That's one of the reasons why they let us. Okay, go on then. You can have assets. Go on, we'll let you. No, we're going to take them off you now. I mean, just you know.
Oh, that's a bit of a downer. It's Graham, not his. It's not Graham. It's his grandson
Kyle.
Oh,
don't tell him that you're his grandson. Is that
right? Or don't tell him you've been talking about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, nice to have you, Kyle. Nice to have you. Well, since we've mentioned the spectre of Graham Drury, I suppose we ought to mark the occasion that he's put up. Was it Facebook? Was it?
It was on Facebook. Yeah.
Have you got it there so I can actually read his words?
Okay. If you pad it for a bit.
Okay. Pad. So Graham Drury put an announcement on Facebook today, which we're about to find. I hope it came as no surprise to anybody. I don't think. I think everybody realised this was what was going to happen. But he's announced his retirement from the sport at the end of this year. I've come to the end of my padding, mate. I've come to the end of my padding. We'll read it out for you. And there was an article as well which we can't read because I can't see it properly. But he says, well, Denise and I are retiring at the end of the current season. Over the last 50 years, we have had an amazing journey. Speedway has been very good to us both. A special thanks must go to Tony Mole, the late great Ian Thomas, Steve York, and Telford Ice Rink. So there you go. We're going to have a round of applause. We're going to.
God, you got me working tonight,
Oh,
haven't you?
too right.
I don't want that one, yeah. No, I haven't got it. No, sorry.
Was that the sound of Graham Drury after he's retired? Is that?
Yeah.
So Graham, I think we can read this.
Can you read it?
I think I might be able to.
Okay,
So Graham Drury will call time on his promoting life at the end of the season. Graham and wife Denise, who has always worked together, won't stay on after Birmingham's final meeting of the season, even if the new owners want them on board. Drury told me, so that's interesting. So that even if the new owners, so we can presume from that there are going to be new owners.
Yeah.
That's phew. Drury told me, enough is enough. When Tony Mole reintroduced the Brummies to the National League in 2015, Denise and I signed a 3-year contract and we said that would be it. It's a joint decision. But he stressed that when they made their original decision, they had no inkling that their long-time employer would be putting the club up for sale. Graham went on, I have been involved in Speedway for 50 years and a 50-year stint is long enough in any job. How many times have you interviewed riders when they finish who say they want to remain in the sport, but how many get that chance? Every morning of my working life I have got up and never thought I have got to go to work. I've had a hell of a good run and now is the time to walk away from it. Drury was a successful grass track rider. He was Cheshire's... Well, I don't think we need to get into it. We've got the gist of that.
Yeah.
Good on you, is all I can say.
Well,
yeah.
I don't think it's a massive surprise, is it? 'Cause
No,
I
it
think
isn't.
he had hinted that he would sort of decide he was going to step down once Tanya Mole stood away from the
I think
sport.
that's
It was on
probably
there,
the big
because
thing.
they've- Yeah,
I think there's no way he wants to be working with anybody else, given what's happened previously when he was working with other people. It's not, and do you know what? I think probably from Birmingham Speedway's point of view, actually, as long as there's somebody in there that knows what they're doing, it is best for him not to be.
it is important. I think. That, well, they will have to, won't they? They will have to have somebody who's had some experience as a promoter.
Yes, otherwise they won't get a vote on the.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
Which I think was was probably the issue the last time, wasn't it? Once Graham and Denise left, there was nobody on the
That's
promotion
right.
with any sort of real experience
That's
of how
right.
to run a speed
That's
club,
right.
and unfortunately we saw what happened.
That's right. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because nothing about that statement I can disagree with. Just going to up to date people on Swindon versus Leicester. It's Swindon 21 and Leicester 15.
So Swindon could go top of the league tonight if they win this one.
Poor Wolves.
Well, we're not top anyway, so
Should we have a look at the
let's have a look at the table.
tables?
I've got the Premiership.
We got the Premiership first, yeah. So the Premiership.
I'm almost on the ball tonight.
You're up, yeah. So the Premiership table looks a little bit like this. Top is Bellevue, second is Swindon, followed by Wolverhampton and Poole. Fifth place is Kingsland. You can't really see them
I think
in
there's
their
been-
current state
No, I think there's been too much upheaval at
doing
Kingsland,
anything.
unfortunately. There, so
Leicester at the bottom, of course. Again, we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, actually. So, I mean, the points-wise, they've all got the same number of meetings or within one of each other, and the points are 41, 40, 37 and 31. That's pretty close, really, isn't it?
well, it's like I mean, Poole are a fair distance back now, so. I mean, Poole are 6 points off Wolves at the moment, so 10 points off the top.
Yeah, but 6 points off Wolves is only 2 matches.
Yeah, and of course
so it's
Poole
fairly
come
close.
to Malmö Green on Monday, so
That'll be interesting, won't it?
I want to win that one after
I
last
bet
time.
you
so
do, yeah. I bet you.
that
I
was-
bet you do.
That has annoyed me ever since we lost that meeting. If I'm going to be honest. So.
Always good. Yeah. That look on his face now. I'm not going anywhere near him. So, I mean, you would say that's going to be the.
You
top
would think
four,
so.
would you
I don't think Kingston will get there. I think some Ryehouse. I think Ryehouse's problem is that they just don't do enough on the road. So
Always has been Rias's problem, actually.
that's been the problem. Even in the, well, I mean, I suppose you could say in there with the years when they were dominant in the Premier League that they were pretty strong away from home as well. But last few years, unfortunately, they haven't been the case. I think were they the first team to win at Perry Bar after the reopening in 07?
I
It may
think
well
that
have been,
might
yeah.
have been, I think that was.
Yeah.
And then we knocked them out of the knockout cup in that infamous.
Premier Trophy, wasn't
Match.
it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't remember that match meeting with much affection, if I'm honest, but because it was, I mean, Rice ended up with 3 riders.
They ended up with 3 riders, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh well. Before you don't change it just yet. Sorry. Leicester.
hmm
How many years have they been in the top
This
flight?
is their 4th season in the top flight.
Am I right in thinking they've finished bottom?
They have finished bottom every single season.
time.
Yeah.
That can't be good.
What's the cause?
Not building very strong teams. I think,
They've got the money. They've got the money. And they've got the setup. and
they also
everything.
ride on a Saturday night, which isn't very attractive
Yeah.
now to riders because of all the events in Europe. So
But it's attractive to supporters.
it is attractive to supporters. So
What sort of crowds are they getting? On a Saturday
I think their crowds are actually reasonable.
night? Yeah.
I suppose
To be
if
honest.
they're getting reasonable crowds, why?
I mean, the racing's. I think they have made some changes again to the track in the last.
They seem to
last
make
winter.
changes
It
every
has,
year.
And from what I've been told, the racing has improved a bit there. So, but it's disappointing because I think when Leicester came back to the sport, I think there was such a big opportunity for them to really build something special there, and it's.
Well, they had a blank sheet, didn't they?
Yeah, they got the track wrong. In fairness, I mean, there's all that. There's, I don't know whether you've never been to Leicester.
I've
I don't
never
think
been
you have,
to.
but there's all this. There's a lot of space around there, which I think could have been utilised and
Yeah.
hasn't been. It's a shame, really, but I think there's been other problems as well, really, with Leicester. Unfortunately, I think the previous promoter didn't really do himself any favours there. I think the local press in Leicester didn't have a very good relationship with him, and I think that's affected their sort of standing as well. So, I mean, whether, maybe it would be beneficial if Leicester did get relegated and dropped into the Championship and tried to rebuild
Maybe they want to.
for a couple of years.
Yeah. That's going to be an interesting match at the end of
Yeah.
the season. It'll be Leicester against, well, we don't know yet. But talking of which, let's have a look at the Championship table then. Okay, so the Championship table, a bit more of an interesting league at the moment, maybe. So Glasgow, Edinburgh, Ipswich and Sheffield are your top 4. And again, looking at it, you'd think that's pretty much going to be it. It's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be-
don't see anybody else muscling in now. I mean, Redcar have done a lot better than I thought they would, but I think it's 8 points now off the top 4. They
Yeah,
are.
with
And they've had two
two matches more than
in
Sheffield.
so
yeah. No, that's not looking good. But it's a good season for them.
they have had a good season, yeah.
It's looking likely to be Glasgow when you look at those points to finish top. So Glasgow versus Leicester in the playoff relegation battle. That's going to be an interesting.
I think it'd be close. You wouldn't be massively surprised if Glasgow did beat Leicester over 2 legs in a. It's probably going to be the most eagerly, probably the one match at the end of the season that everyone's going to look forward to the most.
I think so. I think they've created a really good opportunity here. I mean, I've got to big up the BSPA on this one. It's a great idea, bringing the leagues together and then
Yeah.
introducing this. I think there's going to be a lot of interest in that. There's going to be big crowds, both from Glasgow and from Leicester, because of the importance of the match. It might even do better than the ubiquitous playoffs, which we don't like. But yep.
And Alan Atherton says, watch out for Workington.
Watch out for Workington. Well, they have got a few
They've had a lot
matches
of
in
matches
hand, haven't they?
Well, only 16
They've got
meetings.
16 matches as opposed
to
to 21, 23, 22, 25 from the other
28
ones.
points they're on.
That's still a lot of points to make up, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all right having matches in hand. You've got to take
You've got to
advantage
take
of them.
them. Well, we will watch out for Workington.
Let's have a
We
look.
will.
Just keep an eye on that. Let's have a look at their
Okay.
fixture
Okay.
list. If we can get their fixture list up, that would be.
So-
having a look at. So
We have National League. Yes, let's go for that.
Most important one.
Of course, the most important league. Goes without saying. So we've got Bellevue, Eastbourne, Lakeside, Birmingham, the top 4, with Cradley in 5th place. They've got 2 matches over more than we have on the same number of points. So I think the Birmingham Cradley match is going to be massive. More for Cradley than it is for us, really. If we can manage to get a point off them there, I think we that would seal it for us.
So when's that meeting? When's Birmingham
I
Cradley
think
meeting?
it's in
think it's September, isn't it?
I
So
think it's in September. Yeah,
I don't think Cradley will get in the top 4.
you don't.
I don't think they're strong enough.
Well, they've strengthened, of course.
They've
haven't they?
Well, they've strengthened. I don't know whether they've strengthened by enough.
Certainly got probably
Yeah.
a very good number 1 now, haven't they?
Let's just have a look at now. Well, I've got
Richard
Workington's fixture list up here now, so if we want to have a look at the championship table again, we can have a little.
Okay, so championship table again for us, please. There we go. Yep.
I'm sorry.
No, not the other one. The other one. You was right first time.
Okay.
No, we've just. This is good radio, isn't it?
This
The
is
champion. Begins with a K. Curly K.
I'm multitasking on bloke.
Okay, so let's have a look. So they've got Scunthorpe at home on Saturday.
Scunthorpe. Well, they should beat them fairly
Then
easy.
next
you would think.
Thursday, Sheffield away.
Well, they're not going to get anything at Sheffield, are they?
Could they get a point? Could be difficult, I think.
I think it'd be difficult.
Then they've got Redcar at home, which is a match they would have to. I think
They
they
would.
need to.
Yeah,
they need to-
they should win that one. You would
Ipswich
think.
away,
Well, again, you say that's another difficult one.
followed by Ipswich at home.
So yeah, they've
And then-
got some difficult
and then
meetings coming.
At the end of the month, they've got home and away matches against Berwick. So, and of course, Berwick's struggling
Yeah.
at the moment. So,
Well, they've got some interesting matches because although they're difficult, it's also a chance to take points off
Yeah.
their rivals, isn't it? So
and they've still got to go to Edinburgh. They've still got to go to Peterborough. I don't think they'll get in the top 4 myself.
well, Matt knows everything. So
I know
I know that because he told me.
They gave you that impression. So.
Well, you did actually. You told me. Shall we look forward to the GPs? It's the next GPs.
Manila,
It's this weekend.
It's next weekend.
Next weekend. So we've got a couple of weeks. Well, let's talk about Ty Woffenden for a little bit. I'm not sure. I don't think Millilla's one of his favourite tracks, is it? From what I remember.
I don't think he's won there.
No, I don't. So
I might be wrong, but I don't think he's quite on it at the moment, Ty.
I think that's.
I think there's a lot of. I know I've mentioned this before, but I don't think he's done himself any favours with this ongoing dispute with the BSBA.
No.
But I mean, he's got other things. When he's got his property that he's developing. He's obviously got family now to look after. So
Yeah,
I
his
guess
interests a little bit more divided.
yeah, you get these. You do get these a lot of instances in sport, don't you, where sort of riders have other things going on in their life that you probably would perceive as being more important, and they sort of take their mind off the racing a little bit.
Well, I think he sort of said it himself in the statements that he made at the beginning of the season, which was that he's going to concentrate on enjoying his speedway rather than getting too stressed about it. And so I think that sort of confirms that a little bit, really, don't you?
I think so. I think he's probably at the moment he's just sort of trying to finish the season on a high, because I don't think he's going to muscle his way into the race for the title now. I think that is pretty much gone for him now. I think you're looking at Doyle, Janowski, or Dudek for the World Championship. I think so.
You think it's between?
It will come from one of those three riders.
Well, I think you shouldn't write. I know he's fair way down, but Bartosz Marslik has all of a sudden started to look very good in the way that Jason Doyle did last year.
Let's just have a look at the moment there after 6 rounds. You've got Doyle 78, you've got Janowski 75, Dudek 75.
Very, very tight.
Freddie Lindgren 58, Nigel Salford 58 there. If you go into a GP and you get a big 21-point haul,
and the others don't. Get close. It is easy to turn it around.
That's right.
Well,
so
not easy, but it is possible to turn it around.
Yeah.
I should say.
So, but no, I think it's going to come. I mean, I think it's fair to say you look at the riders that are coming through in Poland now. One of them is going to win the World Championship in the next few years. So I don't think there's any.
Well, let's examine that statement, because I've been thinking about this quite a lot. Because you've got the situation. You've had this same situation for many years now, where really there is one standout nation in Speedway.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, the Poles are it. There's been times when Denmark, you would have said that they were but they've really slipped behind a trend.
They have.
So much so that really Poland are head and shoulders now above anybody else, which is why they win World Cup. After
Poland's
World Cup.
dominance is may well be very similar to Denmark's in the 80s.
I think Sweden's the only one that's possibly giving them a run for their money.
So if that's the case, are Sweden the emerging?
I'm not sure.
I just think they're in a good position at the moment. I don't think they're.
Well, I don't look at a lot of those young Swedish riders. I don't really see any of them as world championship potential at the moment.
No.
They might obviously get better over the next few years.
Might do Jason Doyle.
Yeah.
So that begs the question: why have they got so few world champions?
I think there's a variety of reasons, isn't there? Because one of them is, unfortunately, if you're a Polish speedway rider, you get a lot more attention off the press than you do if you're a British speedway rider.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Polish riders, I think, it's only really in the last sort of 10, 15 years where Polish riders have been able to sort of master the smaller tracks. Thomas Golub, I've always said, I think if the world final was still in existence, Thomas Golub would have won the world championship more than once.
The old type, yeah.
I think because he had to probably be so consistent over the course of a season, and Golub's Achilles heel was always the temporary tracks like Cardiff. Cardiff. He always, I think he had one great Grand Prix at Cardiff, and that was it. It always seemed to be a sort of bit of an Achilles heel for him to ride on a track like that.
Is that now? Would he now be a bit more successful on those sorts of tracks now that they're much better than they used to be? That's the other side of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he would have done, to be honest.
Hello.
Alan gives a good comment here. Poland could put 3 teams out and win 1, 2, 3.
I'm not sure that they could.
I think they could put 2 out.
Yeah.
3 maybe pushing it a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not sure they could.
I'm
So Alan said he thought Buster was right in his decision talking about the King's Lynn thing there, but wrong in how he did it.
I'd agree with that. I don't think Holder and Batchelor did themselves any favours.
No.
In fairness, but the way they handled it.
Did they get what they deserved? Fiona Lee has asked.
No, I wouldn't say they got what they deserved.
No,
because at the end of the day, they're speedo riders trying to make a living, and now, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to.
They made a mistake.
They made a mistake, and
they made a wrong decision, and they paid for it with the 28 day.
I think in terms of we're looking at Chris Holt. I think the long term implications of that is that he probably won't ride in this country again.
I was going to say that actually earlier. I think he's been very scathing of the BSPA previously up to that. Anyway,
I don't think he's got. I don't think his relationship with Matt Ford is as good as it used to be. So whether that might affect any chances of him going back to Paul, although he'll be on a low average. So he would he would be an attractive proposition on a low average, but that's just a shame, really, because
at the end of the day, I suppose money talks.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years ago, Chris Holt was flying, wasn't he? When he won the world championship, and but I think a lot of things have happened over that period. Obviously he's lost. Obviously Darcy Ward's accident, I think, badly affected him. He had his own bad crash at Coventry, which I don't think he's ever been.
I don't think Paul's ever, as a team, has actually recovered from the Darcy Ward situation.
Yeah, so I suppose you could say from that point of view, he knows he's not going to take any silly risks on the track when he's had a bad injury in himself, and he's seen probably his best friend in Speedway have to bring his career to a premature end. So
it's got to play on your mind when you're out on the track. It's got to, hasn't it? Particularly when you've had a bad accident.
I know it wasn't Speedway related, but I think the crash that Lee Adams had as well after he stopped racing, so it's affected a lot of the Aussies as well. So it's a shame, really, because 5 or 6 years ago, I'd fancied him to go on and win maybe a couple of other world championships.
Wow, with people like Darcy Ward riding, World Cups as well.
That's right. So, fortunately for the Australians now, Jason Doyle's stepped up to the plate. So,
yeah, and can he win Manila? Manila.
Well, Muhammad Ali could win in Manila, couldn't he? It's a difficult one because a lot of riders,
he's coming back from injury himself.
A lot of riders ride Manila very well. It is one of the best tracks, I think, on the GP calendar. There's always some very, very good racing there, and it's obviously not a temporary track. I won't say man-made because they're all man-made. I don't know why they use the man-made phrase, to be honest.
This one was made by elephants, I believe.
But no, it's a great racetrack at Manila, and I think Well, he could win it, there's no doubt about that, but there's going to be plenty of...
The one thing that he's good at,
Plenty of
well, not the one
damage.
thing, but that's it. Puts and it gives him advantage. He's pretty quick out the gate.
He's a very good starter.
Yeah.
Very good starter, yeah. So,
That will help him
but you
tremendously.
know, he's in with a great chance. I mean, everybody knows he should have won it last season, and he would have won it last season had he not been for his accident in the penultimate round. So I don't think anybody would begrudge him a world championship this year. So Birmingham could have their second world champion this season, because only had the one.
Yeah, it'd be nice for it to happen when he was actually riding for
It would have been
Birmingham,
nice.
wouldn't
Obviously,
it?
Hans Nielsen didn't. It never happened. Hans Nielsen when he was riding for the Brummies, but
Oh dear! Right, can I just say, because I'm also watching the football, believe it
Oh,
or
right,
not, as we
okay. I
go,
was gonna put
and
it
it's
on
Holland
screen.
1, England 0. I'm not
Oh,
happy.
right.
how long's it gone?
That's 20
Well, it's
minutes,
half
is it?
time now.
Half-time.
It's half time now.
Oh, okay. Plenty of time.
Yeah,
Plenty of time.
plenty of time. Not happy though.
First time ever this year, BSPA budgeted for advertising. How? Said Alan.
Well, how did they budget it, or how did they not budget before? Is probably the more interesting question. I haven't got any information about that at all. I guess they put a plan together and done it. The more interesting question, I think, as I said, is why haven't they done it before? Yeah.
Well, when you think they've had the top league has had sort of 18 years of television coverage and they still haven't got a sponsor. I mean, the National League's got a sponsor. Top league
Well,
hasn't.
yeah, exactly. The score between Swindon and Leicester, by the way, currently is 31 to the Swindon Robins Select and 25 to the Leicester Lions Select. So
It'll be interesting to see what the crowd is for that match.
yeah, I mean they're making a good fist of it with their 3 guests and rider replacement, aren't they? Perhaps they're thinking this is the way forward. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? That'll kill the sport, won't it?
Interestingly, actually, it is interesting, is Thomas Jorgensen, 2 wins
I guessed.
and a third as a guest. That's good going for him, I think. Okay, he's the only one that's doing any good, actually. So it's not as good as the score sounds.
So just going back to Graham Drury and him retiring. Post Drury, what do you see happening at?
I don't think it's possible to say that.
Don't know. Well, it all depends on who's at the helm. It's just, and if there is somebody at the helm, I mean, what I would love to see is us move up a division. I think we need to. I think it's pointless being in this division now. The reason we was there was to build up an asset base. I know for a fact that's what they was looking at doing. And they did a good start, didn't they? The riders that we've had come through: Zach Vitanek, Jack Smith, Jack Parkinson, Blackburn. That's some good, and Danyon Hugh. We've had some good riders come through, and if we could have made just some of them into assets, or if we couldn't make them into assets, because Jack Parkinson, Blackburn's always going to want to go to Sheffield, for instance.
Yeah.
But you get some money for it. Then it's worthwhile being in the National League to do that, and you can take some of those riders up to you, and it builds up a familiarity with the riders and the team, and that in turn builds people coming in because they want to see their favourite riders. But at the stroke of a BSPA pen, that's all gone. That plan out the window. So what I would like to see. Okay, I'll tell you what I'd really like to see, and then we can duck, because there'll be a lot of crazy people wanting to kill me.
Again.
Yes. What I would really like to see is for the new promoter to take the helm of Cradley, run them as a feeder club for us in the championship. That's what I would really like to.
You do realise we've got 2 Cradley people.
I know, and I will say it to them. But I mean, that's where Cradley come from. How they started as a feeder club for Birmingham.
Well, there was Cradley, and wasn't it Tamworth?
Tamworth, yeah,
Tamworth,
and Tamworth
Sammys.
as well, yeah.
I'm going to put a piece of glass in now next week. And a steel door.
Yeah, I'm going to put a helmet on. So That's what I'd like to say. But seriously, what I'd like to see is us going up into the championship, maybe running an MDL team as well, or something like that to get people in, to get assets.
I personally, this is talking as a neutral. I think the novelty of the National League has worn off for the Brummies now.
I think it has, and part of the reason it's worn off is because these riders that we were getting, everybody's been excited about. We're not keeping them.
That's it.
Because we can't keep them, because we're not allowed to keep them. So what's the point? That was the excitement. Wow, look at this guy at first year, Zach Vitanek. Wow, we were so excited that this guy was going to be our asset.
Yeah.
Gone. Again, at the stroke of a pen. At the stroke of a pen of two other leagues running our league. Shouldn't be allowed. Anyway, that's
only in Speedway.
Yeah.
So are you worried for next season?
Of course, I'm worried for next season. I'm a little bit less worried than I was 3 or 4 weeks ago because, we found out this news that there's 2 people made an offer. I presume separate offers. So that's not, that's a good position. But you're going to be a bit worried until you actually know who they are and whether they've got any nous about them. We do need somebody that knows the ins and outs of Speedway because it's a weird thing. It just is. Whether we need another year in the National League with the new promoter depends entirely on who the promoter is.
Well, you could see merits in that, couldn't you? To sort of run it at an affordable level.
Yeah.
And then obviously. But at the moment, you look at the crowds at the moment the Brummies are getting for National League.
It's not great.
Would that support Championship racing?
Well, I don't think it would. But
it certainly wouldn't support racing.
Surely more people would come back.
Well, I know there are people that are not watching it because it's National League.
Yeah,
I know that there are. So hopefully they would come back. You need to put. It's about putting together an exciting team. They would certainly have come back if we'd have been going into the championship with our own riders. If we've been going with Jack Parkinson Blackburn as an asset and Jack Smith as an asset and Daniel Hume and they would certainly I think because there is definite connection between, and certainly was last year more so than any year I've ever been at Speedway, big connection between the fans and the riders. They did really feed off each other.
A club like Birmingham for me should at the very least be in the second tier. I think the Brummies are personally a bit too big for National League racing. It's no disrespect to the National League, 'cause in fairness, it serves its purpose, in developing young English riders.
Well, it has served its purpose, and it's interesting, isn't it, that clubs like we made that jump, and other clubs went, so on board came Eastbourne, on board came Lakeside, possibly Coventry next year if the rumours are to be.
I'm not sure whether it's sort of caught on at Lakeside the way it's caught on at Birmingham and Eastbourne.
I think that's true. From what I've been hearing, the crowds have been.
I personally don't see much future for Speedway at Lakeside. If I'm honest, I think there's all this talk about them getting another venue
because they're doing quite well this year, aren't they?
They're doing well. In fairness, they weren't doing badly in the top flight. They were most seasons they were in and around the playoff zone, and they had some good riders go there. Well,
though John Cook has recently stated that there's going to be some exciting news for Lakeside.
I'm told John Cook's hardly been there all season.
So I've heard that as well. But a bit like when Cradley turned up at Birmingham, and then there was nobody from the management there. I thought that was quite interesting. But
anyway, I've got this ready now for Graham Drury. There you go. The boy done good.
It only took him 55 minutes,
something like that. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll be a bit quicker next time. Yeah.
Going back to the to Alan Atherton's talking again about the advertising. He says you have Guest and Pearson running social media, but they're black button happy if you have an opinion.
Allegedly.
How can that be good? I don't think that you can say that they are running social media is the first thing. They have their own feeds on social media, but everybody else has their own feeds on. The block button I don't know what to say about it. It happens. It happens. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So-
I'm blocked by loads of people.
Well, that's not a surprise to anybody in this room.
They're mostly Villa players. To be honest. There you go. Some people can't take a joke.
Okay, I'll say this about I'll say this about that. I mean, I don't know. What I'm about to say is this is a guess, and as much as anything, Speedway fans. I commented on it earlier about the Brummie fans moaning about both sides of the same problem. It was just, get a life. We like to moan. It's the one. We're probably world champions at whinging. Now, part of that is because we've got something to whinge about with the sport. I mean, there are many things wrong with it, but then again, there is. You look at forums in different sports, football, whatever, they're all whinging, aren't they?
Yeah.
But we can't afford to whinge. We can't afford to turn people off Speedway. We can't afford to turn possible new recruits away.
New owners, possibly.
New owners. Now, social media is the biggest and best way to get people interested in Speedway, because you've got all the different. You can show them videos. You can show the teams. There's just so much stuff.
Social media is a great tool if you use it correctly.
So, I would say that if anybody's blocking these things, it's because we can't afford these opinions to be out there. It's what I was talking about last week with I will protect free will and free speech till my dying breath. It's important. That's what this country is built on. It's important, but what you say and what you do has to have a consequence. Always will have a consequence. And if you're comfortable with that consequence, whatever that consequence is, then fine, go ahead, say it.
Yeah.
But if the consequence is...
One thing I always say is, don't say anything on social media that you wouldn't say in a court of law.
Yeah.
So.
Or say to somebody's face.
Yeah.
Yeah, is the other thing. So I just think we've got to be a little bit.
I do think the BSB over the years have been a bit overly sensitive to some criticism, which has been warranted. You got to have broad shoulders when you're in this sort of business.
Definitely.
Take it on the chin.
Well, I think actually more than that.
Yeah.
Answer the criticism.
Nobody likes being criticised,
because that's what they never do. They never answer the criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Answer. That's the way to deal with it. Is answer it.
I do think the BSB this season have been more proactive in terms of social media. They've got their own Twitter feed now, which they're very active on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We go now you go on the BSBA website and they have a heat of the week, things like that. It'd be nice if they did.
Part of that is, of course, because I think BT are a bit more relaxed with their copyright, or maybe they haven't got the whole copyright. Maybe Speedway has thought we missed a trick there, and they've sorted it out with the BT contract.
I don't know whether that was down to Sky, whether that was down to Go Speed, which is Terry Russell's company.
Yeah. Well, it's the combination, isn't it?
Yeah.
They negotiated, so it's whatever they negotiated. So, there's been a crash in Heat 10 of the Swindon-Leicester match. Kenneth Bier on his back wheel out of bend 2 and made contact and came off worse. Heavy fall and amazing lay down by Nichols. Bier excluded and into the ambulance to be checked over.
And
the riders are now taking a collection for Zach Vitanek, and we should mention that, yes. Get well soon, Zach. Many of you are aware. He had a bad accident and ruptured his spleen, which is nasty.
Nasty, yeah.
Good news is that the doctors have decided they don't need to remove the spleen. Yeah. So that is really good news. Just get well soon, mate. We're all thinking of you at Birmingham Land. So Alan says, who runs the social media? Don't think anybody runs the social media. That's the problem with it.
It's not, nobody runs it.
I don't know who tweets on behalf of the BSB.
Well, I'm guessing that the tweets and so on, or Facebook or whatever it is that you're talking about, are their own private.
I don't think it's Nigel Pearson. I don't think he does that now. So
no, has he stopped doing that?
Yeah.
I know
he's got his own Twitter feed, doesn't he? So
yeah, I think they've got their own ones. I'm pretty sure Ryan Guest's got his own one as well. Yeah. So you run that, don't you?
Yeah, I have somebody tweet for me as well.
I don't know who runs the Brummie one. So I don't know, but I absolutely understand, even if I'm not sure whether I agree or not, but I absolutely understand them getting rid of messages that are detrimental to Birmingham Speedway or to Speedway. I can understand that. I do, like you, think sometimes that they're a bit sensitive to some of the criticisms and possibly should answer them, but not over social media. Because once you start a ball rolling on social media, it snowballs into something.
That's what happened with the World Speedway Forum. We had that clash with them in the promotion a few years ago, and it's a lot of the people who used to post on that forum don't go to Speedway anymore because of it.
So you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Does that mean we've come to the end of the show?
Yeah.
Wow.
We had nothing to say.
We had nothing to say, and we
filled
proved
with
it.
an hour.
We proved it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, looking forward to next week's show now, when, as we said, we've got the lads from Cradler coming over.
Roll up the red carpet.
Roll up the red carpet.
Yeah, tell your mums.
The red and yellow carpet, shall we say. And on that note, take care. Have a good week, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
We didn't even talk about any of the